All right, so once again, guys, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting day in mathematics. Whoop, whoop. Warm-up number 24 should be on your screen. And like I said, by now, you should be experts at these problems that I give you for practice on the warm-ups. So number one is basically getting a box plot, measures of central tendency, IQR. And number two, it's best fit line. Let's see how that goes. I'll give you some time. Copy and... All right, so I think we got it. Let's go with number one. What you get for Q1, Q2, and Q3. Share with your neighbor really quick, just to make sure I don't catch anyone off. Q1, Q2, and Q3. Q1, Q2, and Q3. What you get, Jaden? Hands, have you got that? Yeah? And then min and max are 1 and 10. And then you got your box plot, yes? All right, so now we need the measure central tendency. Tell them your measures to your neighbor, please. What are the measures? Oh, I got stuff in my bag. All right. Do me a favor, can you post these three? Take there's hold on. There should be somewhere in there. Pull it back. Some more in there. And see if we can post some, move the math poster, the one that's over there under the scoop. Move it to the wait. And there's tape in the back of it. Yeah. And let's do that first. All right. And by the way, you were recorded. All right. Mean, median, and mode. Joe, what'd you get? Hands, you've got 5? Really? For all of them? Let's go. All right. Let's go to number 2, best fit line. Let's see, share with your neighbor. This is going to be an interesting one. Share with your neighbor what you got for the best fit line. Y equals what? Looks like Fernando's got it, but he's going to step out for a little bit. So, Illy's got it. Let's go. All right. Let's see. Let's go with our cabinet work people. Chelsea, what'd you get for your equation for number 2? 1 over 1 x. All right. So, according to Chelsea, if she gave me that, that means that her line, best fit line, starts at 0, and it goes something like this. Yeah? Okay. Question. Does that have any pattern, any rhyme or reason? No? No. So that means, guess what? It doesn't have a slope, which means, notice the trend, look up to the screen, the trend is just going in that direction. Does that make sense? Therefore, check this out. Let me erase that. My line should be something like that. Right? Because it doesn't go up and it doesn't go down. It's just going in that direction. So if it's only going in that direction, that means that my equation for this line is y equals 4. Y equals 4. with no slope. Now, I know some of you just went and did these three, and then you left 2 and 2. But once again, since it doesn't have an actual sequence, you just go straight through it. All right, copy the agenda, please. Warm-up number 24, frequency tables and graphs. And your home plate for tonight, it's only 2 problems, only. Itty-bitty problems. Let's go. And thank you for sending your warm-up in. There's an agenda in front of you. Nearpod code for tonight's home play, RV8XS, RV8XS, RV8XS. Ayalani, let's just fix the top one because my brain's gonna go crazy. Let's fix the top one because then my brain's gonna go crazy with me. You're like, I don't see it. It's a little bit crooked. Yeah, turn it. So you're gonna pan it to the, like this. A little bit less, right there. Yeah. That's how my brain works, sorry. Yeah, like sometimes, guys, some of you that sit over there in the back, sometimes you move my frames, like the Star Wars one or the fish one, and they're like a little bit off, and I'm like going crazy over here. My goodness. Bah. Anyways, last night's home play, you guys already turned it in. Thank you. Tonight's home play, only 2 problems. Blah. Anyways, shall we? Here we go. I can represent frequency tables into graphs. I can represent frequency tables into graphs. I can represent frequency tables into graphs. So just a quick recap. Have we covered frequency tables? Yes, Mr. Q. Yeah, we already have the notes. That's why we don't need a Freyer model. So now we're going to be transforming those frequency tables now into graphs. You're like, finally, we're getting to get some numbers and graphs, Mr. Q. I know. Concepts within concepts, I think we're about done with that. Now we're moving on to start using some of that stuff. So what's the main idea for today? Frequency tables and what? Graphs. Okay? We good? So here it goes. We already have these nodes. We started off that we collect data and we have 2 different categories. We have what? Categorical and quantitative. You guys remember that? However, categorical has another name. Tell your neighbor, see if you remember. If this is quantitative, what is the other name for categorical? Another name for the categorical. Yeah, who remembers qualitative, right? Qualitative data, yeah? So categorical is the same thing as qualitative. So thinking about those 2 types of data that we're going to continue working with, we went from there to tables. I introduced frequency tables, and we said that they were used to organize information and show how much the data occurs. And then I gave you this one. Look up. Is that a frequency table? No, that's only data. This is the frequency table because it has to show what? Frequency, okay? Tell your neighbor why this one is not a frequency table. Why is that one not a frequency table? So do me a favor. So see all the posters around? Leave those up for right now. But there's a lot of them stacked on this pile over here next to the screen. Take them all back there to the table and then select like 4 or 5 of the good ones. Same thing. Yeah. So and then the other good ones. Yeah. All right, so why is this one not a frequency table, Fernando? Yeah, it doesn't show frequencies. This is only a, if you want to call it, what is it, ordinal? It has an order, but there's no real value in between, okay? So, it's to organize information to show frequency. I gave you steps to follow to do frequency tables, which were these. We're going to get more into those because now we're going to start crunching numbers. Remember that I promised you that I gave you plenty of practice with standard deviation. Have I been giving you only somewhere between 5 to 7, maybe 9 numbers? Then I said, what if I give you about 50 numbers? That means we need to make tables to get organized. So that's where we're headed, okay? Yeah, I just, we're getting there. So, graphs. We're going to be talking about 3 types of graphs. The first one, histograms. You should have seen this in 7th or 8th grade, and they look like this. Yes? Second type, frequency polygons. Frequency polygons. Frequency polygons are as follows. They kind of use the same data, but then it's connected in a weird fashion from point to point. And the third one is known as ogive, also known as cumulative frequency, and they look like this. They can use the same data, but the only thing is represented in a different way. Okay? So do me a favor. I'm going to send that to your screen. I want you to copy it on your notes. I'll give you some time for that. Copy and go. All right, so once again, what graphs are we going to be working with tonight? And tonight's home play, you're going to be representing each problem. How many different ways? 3 different ways. With histograms, frequency polygons, and ogives, which are known as cumulative frequency. All right. Now, let me just talk a little bit more in regards to histograms. You've probably seen these before in different ways and shapes, and you've probably seen them on in the news in your social media feed from time to time, and they look like this. Look up. You don't have to copy this. There's some that are bell-shaped, and notice, does that look like a bell? Yeah? And we've been working with our bell curves, right? So here it is, bell curve, kind of. A bimodal is when it has 2 different modes. Skewed left, that means that it's empty on the left and leaning to the other side. Skewed right is when it's empty on the right, leaning to the other side. When it makes a U, kind of like and that's why it's called a U shape. And then this one, which is uniform, which means there's no really pattern to it, and it just goes straight through the data. Okay? So, questions, comments on that? Okay, straightforward. So, without looking at your notes, tell your neighbor the 3 different graphs that we're going to be using today. All right, let's see. Illy. Histograms, frequency polygons, and ogives. Yes, those are the 3. Therefore, let's get started. On your paper, you started with graphs. Do me a favor, turn the paper over because we're going to need a lot of space. In the back, start at the top, write example number 1, and you're going to write, represent the data using the histogram, and copy this table all the way to the far right of your paper. Then, underneath that, you're going to write example number 2. You're going to copy the table again, exactly the same, underneath that other one that you did to the right. Then underneath that one, you're going to write number 3, and you're going to copy it one more time. Why 3 times, Mr. Q? Because you're going to represent it which way? Histogram, polygon, and ogive. Blah. And each one needs its process. Give you some time, copy and go. All right, here we go. Most of you should be about done copying the table. So here goes step 1. Look up to the screen. So step 1, I want you to do this. Done. What did you do first? What did we do first? We made a table, Mr. Q? Yes, we made a frequency table. So step one is what? Frequency table. Step two, look up. We add a column titled what? Midpoint. Midpoint. So, all right. So, students, frequency tables, there they are. This is a quick, like I said, we already kind of like did a soft introduction. Now we're going to get more into it. So that you know, notice this column here is called what? Class boundaries. What does that mean, Mr. Q? That means that each of these is a what? A class. Each of these, 99.5 to 104.5, that's one class. 104.5 to 109.5 is another class. So guess what? Now we need to find the midpoint for each of those classes. How do we do that, Mr. Q? The easiest way, here it goes. What is 99.5 plus 104.5? 204, right? And then we divide by 2, and what does that give us? 102. That's how we find the midpoint of each of the classes. So we got 102. Let's go to this one. 104.5 plus 109.5, that is, to what? 214 divided by 2, 107. Find me the rest of the midpoints, please. For those, we need to rearrange on top because somebody helped me put the other ones on top, but they're kind of leaning. I don't know who it was, and I don't want them to fall on top of someone. No, I'm going to have to get somebody on the table to move stuff around. Yeah, because it's too heavy. Yeah. So I think we're good for right now. Thank you. What's the next midpoint, Peyton? We got 102, 107, 112, 112. Next one, Fernando. Oh. One what? 117. How about the next one, Clarissa? What'd you get? Okay. $122. And I don't know if you saw a pattern. Look up really quick. 102 to 107, that's plus 5, right? And then 12, and then 17, and then, so that means the next one is what? 127, and it ends in 132. So, step one, make a frequency table. Step two, find the midpoint of each class. So far so good, yes? All right. Now that we have our data set, now we start with our graph. That's step three. Step three, we set up our y-axis and our x-axis. So, for our y-axis, we have our frequency, and it goes all the way from 1 all the way to 18. And what is that representing? Record high temperatures in the U.S., but this is the actual frequency. So we're going to write frequency. And we need to figure out how you want to scale it. Notice this little bitty line, we need to fit up to 18 values. So what do you guys want to go by what? By ones, by twos, by fives, by, Diego says 2. Okay, so let's go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. For the x-axis, which is our class boundaries, which is what? The temperatures. It starts at 99.5. So look up really quick. Look what I'm going to do at the beginning. Since we don't have anything from 0 all the way to 99, we do this. That's why you see this in graphs when they do this, meaning that data is missing on that piece. So do like a little squiggly right there. And our first value is 99.5. Then we go next to 104.5. Then 109.5. Then 114.5. Then 119.5. 119.5. And then we got, and I can barely fit my numbers. Hold on. Let me move this over. All right. And then we got 124.5. And then we got 129.5, and last but not least, 134.5. Okay, are we there so far? All right, so let me show you how to represent it using a histogram. Ready? Here we go. We're representing it using what? Histograms, which means they are bars. Are we there? So let's start with the first class. What is my first class? From 99.5 to 104.5, yes? What is the frequency? 2. So you go to 2. Here's 99.5. Here's 104.5. And also use the midpoint. The midpoint is in between these two, which is 102. Make the midpoint a little bit bigger than the rest. Everybody there so far? So watch. Draw a line across. Draw a line down to 104.5 and a line down to 99.5, and then just fill in your histogram bar. Let's go to the next one. From 104.5 to 109.5, what is the frequency? 8. So let's go to 8, 104.5, it's right there, 109.5, and the midpoint of those two is 107. I'm going to make that one bigger. Across, down, and fill in your bar. Let's go to the next one, 109.5, 114.5, and the frequency is 18. 18 is way up here, so I follow it. 18 to 109.5 is about right there. 114.5. And the midpoint is 112. Make the 112 a little bit bigger. And just fill in your bar. See how it's forming now? Yeah? Pretty straightforward? You're like, oh, I like these, Mr. Q. I know, right? 114 to 119, the frequency is 13. So 13 is between 12 and 14. So let me follow that. So it's about right here. Right there, and the midpoint is 117, which is about right there. Fill in your bar. Next one, 119.5 to 124.5, and that frequency is 7, so between 6 and 8, so 7 is about right here and there. Midpoint is where are we at? 117? Was it 117? No, my bad. 122. So right here. Fill in your bar. And we go to the last two, 124.5, 129.5, and the frequency is 1. So 1, so it's about right here and right here. The midpoint is 127. And the last one is also 1. And there it is. From 1 to 5, how comfortable are you building a histogram from data? Yeah, we got it, right? So, are we done? No. What do we do with data, people, at the end? Conclusion. So look at the graph. What can you conclude from the graph? Look at the graph. And this is high temperatures in the U.S. Record high temperatures. Tell your neighbor, what can you conclude from the graph? And remember, this is a frequency table. High temperatures. What can you conclude from the graph? All right. Looks like Jaden's got it. Very good. Joel's got it. Very good. But we're going with Caleb. What can you conclude, Caleb, from the graph? Okay, so from the graph, he concluded that the record high temperature is between 129.5 and 134.5. Okay, that's one observation. How about this one? Look up. What does that tell us? That it had the most frequent, right? So what would we write? The most frequent high temperature in the U.S. was between, what was the class? The class was 109.5 degrees to 114.5 degrees. 10Q. Kate, yes? All right. So, let's go to the next one. Here we go. Example number 2. Same table. All right. Step 1. Tell your neighbor what step 1 was. Yeah, frequency table. Tell your neighbor step 2. Yeah, so draw a column here and label it midpoint. So 102, 107, 112, 117, 122, 127, 132. Step 3, what do we do step 3, everyone? Yeah, our X and Y. It's going to go pretty fast, so stay with me. Once again, this is our frequency. And we said by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. And then the wiggles right here, and we start at 99.5, 104.5, 109.5, 114.5, 119.5, 124.5, 129.5, 134.5. All right? Y'all ready? Here we go. So, for this one, guys, we start this time only using the midpoint. Using the what? The what? Midpoint. So let's do that. What's our first midpoint? 102 for the first class. What is the frequency? 2. So 2, 102, just plot your midpoint right there. That's all you need. Let's go to the next one. What's the next midpoint? 107. Where's 107? About right here. What is the frequency? 8. Next one, what is our next midpoint? 112, what was that frequency? 18. 112 is about right here, and it goes all the way to 18. Next one, the midpoint is 117, frequency is 13, so it's about right there. Next one, midpoint is 122, frequency is 7. 122 is about right here, and it's 7, which is about right there. And then the last one, midpoint is 127, which is right here, and it's 1. And then 132 and 1. Y'all ready? This is how you make a polygon. Look up. Start from the first value that you have, which is 99.5, and connect all your dots. And that's how you make a polygon graph. From 1 to 5, how comfortable are you making a polygon graph? Yes. Very similar to the histogram, just a little bit different representation, and you know what to conclude with that? Yes? Yes, Mr. Q. How we doing? All right. And last but not least, we got 2 minutes. You think we can do it in 2 minutes? Oh yeah, we got this. Ogive. Here we go. Step 1. Yeah. Step 2. Look what I'm going to do. Instead of going to the midpoint, this one does not use a midpoint, but it uses a table. You're like, what? Yeah, watch. Class. And over here I'm going to write cumulative frequency. Cumulative frequency. So look, I'm going to start with the lowest value. What's my lowest value? 99.5, so I write this. Look up. Less than 99.5. So what is the frequency less than 99.5, guys? Is there anything? No, so we start at 0. Next, less than, what's my next number up? 104.5. 104.5. So what's the frequency from 104.5 down? 2. Next one. Look, instead of writing the words less than, I'm just going to write an arrow. What's my next number? 109.5. Now this is where it gets interesting. Look up. What is the frequency from 109.5 and down? So we're here, and down, the frequency is what? 10. That's why it's known as cumulative. Hold on, a couple more. Next one. 114.5 less than. What would be the frequency for all of that, everyone? 28, and so on and so forth. You build, you build the same graph, but this time, guess what? We only use this table. This table right here. We don't use this one anymore to graph our ogive. Okay? We'll stop right there, see how you do with your home plate. Once again, it's only 2 problems represented in 3 different ways. If you don't get to the ogive, that's okay. We'll talk about that tomorrow during class. Enjoy your session over there with the universities. See you guys tomorrow.